Good.
Yeah. Can you introduce yourself? Tell me what you do.
Okay. I'm Mattia Binotto. I'm working at Scuderia Ferrari, team principal managing director.
So have you got Netflix?
No.
No?
No.
So you haven't seen season 1?
No.
Oh, there's a problem! Massive accident! Wow!
Last season,
The performance from Haas.
it was so up and down.
It's grosjean.
Fuck, you fucking look like a bunch of wankers. But we made a big step upwards.
Haas get their best ever finish in Formula One.
Whoa!
At McLaren, I don't think we designed a very good race car.
Another problem for McLaren.
And Zach Brown not happy.
2018 was a pretty horrific year for Williams.
What's the point of even racing now?
Very successful drivers started with Sauber.
Leclerc is driving a brilliant race.
Yes, yes, yes! Charles Leclerc will be joining Ferrari next season. The Red Bulls are really going for it here.
This is the best driver pairing that we've had in our history.
They have crashed!
I was kind of made to feel guilty. Daniel Ricciardo leaving a Red Bull.
He's going to Renault.
He needs a driver and an engine.
Yeah.
With Daniel, we have a strategy, we have a plan.
I just needed to get out.
And the knock-on effects mean Carlos Sainz will lose his seat.
See ya.
It has been a brilliant year.
Mercedes is very much the benchmark.
Lewis Hamilton, a five-time champion of the world!
As one chapter closes,
We have to focus on what is ahead.
We just gotta try and do better.
I feel like I've been here before.
Yes, of course. Are you guys back for a second series? Holy fuck.
There's only one half.
I swear to say, I was like, no way, no way. But we walk down here where you and the drivers will be on the boat. Yeah. They're going to sort of go up the river a little bit and then wave like the Queen. Hello, hi.
Formula One season launch. Who wants to see their favourite Formula One drivers here tonight?
The drivers of 2019 Formula One World Championship field are about to arrive on the boat.
The drivers have arrived. And I can spy Sebastian Vettel. And I can see Daniel Ricciardo as well.
I'm Daniel Ricciardo. I am driving with the Renault F1 team. I'm still from Australia and I'm still good looking.
Look, here they come. George Russell. Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis, you legend!
I'm Lewis Hamilton and I race for Mercedes-Benz. Oh shit, is that what is it?
Just say the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
Well, we're all here because we love racing, we love competing. In many respects, it's my life. Outside of my family, it's the most important thing in the world to me. This is my 15th season leading this team, and I'm as excited going into this year as I've been about any of the years.
post-life. You're from the beginning of the song, and dreams are still alive. So far, so good.
The first race in Australia is awesome. You're excited to get back. I guess it's like in spring when they let the cows out of the of the houses and they go crazy.
My name is Toto Wolf. I'm the team principal of the Mercedes. Wie sage ich?
So my name is Valtteri Bottas. I drive for the Mercedes AMG Petronas Motorsport.
Like with everything in life, you have to be passionate about what you do. For me personally, it is about being able to add a 6th consecutive championship that hasn't been done before.
I'm Sebastian Vettel, driving for Scuderia Ferrari.
Well, obviously I'm here because I love racing, love my job, and the goal and the ambition is to be successful with Ferrari. And whilst doing so, we enjoy and have a lot of fun.
Right, let's go down to the audience. Who's got a question down there? Put your hand in the air. Here we go.
So my question's for Gunter. After the race this year, do you aim to look like wankers or rock stars?
Hopefully rock stars. That was a good question. Thank you for the question, sir.
A lot of people know what happened to us last year in Australia.
Kevin Magnussen has pitted.
We had 2 failures on the pit stops, and we retired both cars.
And who's that going slowly? It's Kevin Magnussen. And by the looks of things, one of those wheels isn't attached properly.
Stop the car, stop the car.
Romain Grosjean pulling over in the other Haas.
We fucking look like rock stars, huh? And now we are a fucking bunch of wankers. Hopefully we can make up for it, and that would be a good revenge.
Each season is a journey. It's 21 races, 21 countries. On the road with us at Mercedes, there's nearly 100 people that are moving from city to city. It's quite an incredible journey in trying to win a world championship, and one I'm looking forward to.
We are doing pretty well. We are in front of Alfa, in front of one Ferrari.
Going to Melbourne, it's too early to say who is good, who is not good. I'm not counting out anybody. I mean, we are all in for it. Comparing with other cars is always difficult the first days. Only the racetrack will tell.
It's not really till you get to Melbourne that you absolutely know where your starting point is. It's the first time everybody pulls down their pants and you see what you've got.
First, how does it feel to be here with a different team?
Yeah, new team, fresh start, fresh season, but I still have the same expectations for myself and to deliver and to be the best I can with the car I've got. But also, I feel a real responsibility to try and push this car further up the grid, you know, during my time here. When I signed with Renault, a lot of people probably didn't understand it. Maybe some still don't. No worries.
No one saw it coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It was a massive, massive shock. Right up until about a week before it was announced, Christian Horner was absolutely 100% sure Daniel wasn't going to go anywhere.
When he rang to say, I'm leaving to go to Renault, first of all, I thought it was a wind-up. He couldn't really give me any reason. But with Max Verstappen as his teammate, my assumption was that he was running a little bit from a fight.
I personally wasn't running from anything. I still want to achieve the world title, and to do that, I just felt like I needed a change. once I signed on the dotted line last year, moving to Renault, working with new people, it just increased every bit of motivation and passion I had. Wave to everyone. Morning. Thanks. For sure that I felt a bit of love. What's up, fellas? Like that was the coolest thing, you know. I noticed that straight away. Everyone's just like, I want to do great things here, and I want to feel like this is a place where I can, A, obviously be happy.
Welcome home. Yeah. Okay.
But B,
Yeah,
become a world champion.
All right. This is it. It's happening.
So that's really all I'm here for. What's going on? Hiya.
Welcome.
It's your office?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I think we believed in him. That also he believed in us. It was a special moment.
So this is race bays, right?
This is race bays, yeah. This is all the machining area.
So I'll be working here. Is this my desk?
Yeah, this is where you're sitting.
Yeah.
And you watch the gearbox through the glass.
Cool.
For Daniel to join us, he was confirming that our project was an exciting project for him to be a part of.
You know, I saw the momentum they've had, you know, since 2016. And I think there was just pressure to continue that for 19. It sounds busy, so I like the sound of that. Oh, I gotcha.
What we've done so far is P9, P6, P4 into the championship over the last 3 years. So I guess natural expectation that the next step is P3.
Oh, sorry, dude. Excuse me. Let's hug it out. It's like the greatest band ever. Respect. If we at Renault produce an amazing car and really get ourselves clear of that midfield and getting the fight with those top 3 teams, ultimately we want to latch on to Ferraris, Mercedes and Red Bulls.
Okay, so let's give a big round of applause to Daniel. Please, thank you.
The first podium with Renault would... Oh, I've thought about it. I've certainly thought about it, but...
Welcome, Daniel.
It's been a long wait, but we're back, everybody. Welcome along to the first day of the Formula One season. But here in Melbourne, it's practice 1.
How are you? How's it been? When did you get here? Monday afternoon.
The ultimate goal is to win. But we have to optimize this car. We have to get this machine to perform. It doesn't just perform on its own. In the championship, it could be closer. I really won't know till we get to that first race, to be honest.
Are you?
Mercedes are a very well-oiled machine.
Hey, ladies.
They are, without a shadow of a doubt, the favourites going into this year. And they will be an incredibly hard nut to crack.
Right, so I need to go and check that with George. That's good.
Has everything been the setup been okay with you?
Yeah, no, everything's been good. Far up's been all right so far. So
Okay, no dramas.
Yep.
Engine running well.
We have brought ourselves in a position that we are the ones to beat.
Radio check. No radios now. Clearness.
A critical part is to manage your own expectations. Not feel a sense of entitlement to win, but stay modest.
Not looking back, because at the start of the season, all points go to 0.
And just 1 minute.
Last year we were disappointed second. We are all very convinced on what we want to achieve. But again, it will take time. The competitors are very strong.
Port 9, upshift early, closer to when you go full throttle.
Well, Ferrari have dominated pre-season testing. They will be blisteringly quick.
Copy. because the car has to be reliable to finish first. But we are working on that.
That at the end of the session. Yeah. Good. It's losing a bit of hair these days.
It's all ready. Whatever happens, we're ready.
Max very much moves into the driver to lead the team. You know, he started to select another gear last year, and he has this growing following, this growing intensity around him.
Ever since he signed for Red Bull, Max has been the team's shining star. Team management has said they wanted to turn him into the youngest world champion in the sport's history. So competing with that for Daniel was always going to be tough.
Will you miss Daniel racing it?
Well, you know, Daniel's still in the paddock and he's still racing Formula 1, so I won't necessarily miss him, but I'm just looking ahead to the ones we have to beat, and those are Ferrari and Mercedes, not Renault. That's the target.
You know, if you see that helmet in your mirror, he's not going to be there for long, and he's definitely going to have a go. And it's reminiscent of, you know, the greats in the past. He will not give up and will give it absolutely everything.
Well, for me, the aim is to become a world champion. And of course, you know, it's always better sooner than later. In 10, 15, 20 years' time, if I would look back and I see third, I'm not really interested. But personally, I'm only there to win.
You know, we've got to deliver to retain him. He's got an agreement with the team that if we don't fit the criteria by the summer break, which is the top 3 in the Drivers' Championship, then he's a free agent. And, you know, there's a lot of teams in the paddock that would like to sign up Max Verstappen. Our intention is to provide him with a car to be able to challenge for the World Championship.
Red Bull Showrun Tokyo ご来場いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。Please welcome.
Coming into 2019, the biggest strategic decision that we've had to make was walking away from Renault and taking on a largely unproven engine in Honda.
Well, the missing link for us the last 5 years has really been the power unit. You know, we went from winning 4 double world championships. The last 5 years have been difficult for us.
We're totally taking a risk on Honda. You know, we've gone to the casino, we've put all our money on one number.
It's not like some other sports where it's just yourself which can make the difference. You know, if you don't really have a car where you can fight with, then you can't really show how good you are. At the moment, for me, it's very difficult to say what we can do because you don't know. Nobody knows.
The reality is, Red Bull make an energy drink worldwide. Formula One is a platform to promote and advertise it. If this new relationship with Honda doesn't work, if we lose Max Verstappen, then you'd have to question, you know, Red Bull's long-term commitment to Formula One.
Time for qualifying. Let's see the cars blast around the Albert Park track. It looks an absolute picture in the sunshine of a beautiful evening.
Formula One hands out points for the top 10 drivers, with the winner getting 25, second 18, third 15, then it rapidly tails off. So if you're finishing lower than 5th, you're not really scoring the points that a top team needs to fight for the championship. All you can do is get into the midfield.
Everyone in the midfield can be a good rivals, you know. Can be Renault, it can be McLaren, Alfa Romeo, Toro Rosso, even Williams. You never know, you know.
Radio check right now.
Radio is good, brother.
I insulted him. No, I don't insult you, I insult him.
A small team trying to compete with big manufacturers. We know that our opposition, they have got bigger budgets, they've got more resources, but it's not all about that. We stand up to them, and I'm not afraid of them because we're actually not afraid of anybody. You know, we're going into our 4th season. I think we will have a good year again. It's a joy to work with you, with some of you, not of everybody. Where's Romain? Nothing to say. Good. And I need somebody to pick on. It's normally him, he's used to it. We rock a little bit the establishment, which I think a lot of people like.
Let's go and see the car a moment, guys. Let's come over.
The doubters will be always out there.
What do you think, guys? Good, a little bit different, huh? Yeah. Hopefully it's fast.
I don't really care about what they say. You have to cut out the BS from these people, because they all got an opinion, but they don't do the job.
Romain, the last time a black and gold car was on the grid, it finished on the podium with you, yeah. So can you repeat this? Yeah. Yeah, no pressure. You know, we especially.
We were bankrupt as well.
We are not bankrupt. We are not bankrupt. You know, we are not bankrupt. But anyway, not yet. Depends how many cars you destroy this year. But
now it's going to come.
It's time now to get on the podium, huh?
Well, I see.
Are you upset now with me? This was a joke.
Position. Romain Grosjean starts 6th for Haas, ahead of Kevin Magnussen.
No, if it stays like this, we are fine. Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian hero, what can he do from 12th?
And what of Red Bull? Can they take the fight to the reigning world champions?
Already okay.
Radio check.
Copy loud and clear.
Just moments to go before the start of the Australian Grand Prix.
Has it come up completely?
A firm, yeah, has come up completely. Boxing is now nose change.
Understood.
Pretty troublesome start then for Daniel Ricciardo. And Ricciardo is running plumb last.
Okay, let's find the rhythm now. It's going to be a long one.
I picked up a pretty big vibration.
Okay, Daniel, so we're going to box this lap, please. Box this lap. You have an issue? You retire the car. Sorry about that, mate.
Sorry, it didn't work out.
That is a very, very disappointing end to one of his happiest weekends of the season.
Cameraman, let's keep pushing, we're pressurising other cars.
Okay.
Grosjean goes down the inside. Haas think they have got a fast
told you the car was good. Fuck yeah.
Okay, well, let's push as hard as we can. Good job, dude. Good job. Box from
Fuck it.
Drama for Haas in Australia.
We're still in this fight, dude.
Okay.
We can do it to around 1.5 seconds quicker than the cars ahead. We will catch them, so let's keep going.
I'm losing the brakes. What's the situation, brother?
Stop the car, man. Stop the car where you can.
Fuck! Ah! Fucking stupid. Fucking stupid.
And that's a shame. He's done a great job this weekend.
Fuck it up.
It's Mercedes first and second, Ferrari third and fourth, and Red Bull are in fifth with Max Verstappen.
How much pace do you think you've got in you?
You can easily pick up the pace.
It's time to see the real speed of that Honda engine. Into the pits comes Vettel. And all of a sudden, it's game on for Red Bull.
You just focus on getting set.
Big cheers from the crowd. You can hear them as they see Verstappen closing in.
That's Vettel ahead of you. Keep pushing.
We are definitely catching them.
Game on.
Oh, yes.
There is Kevin Magnussen with Grosjean out of the race. All hopes at Haas fall on him.
Whatever position I'm fighting for, I only have one setting, and that's maximum.
Now we're going to see whether Kevin Magnussen can hold off the Renault behind. Magnussen defends his place. You know what I've really missed over the winter? Max Verstappen going for some overtakes. We start the final lap of this race.
The whole car was coming alive. We seem to have really good power compared to the others, so I could basically just push flat out.
Verstappen's going for it here.
Max Verstappen moves up into third place.
Yes, mate.
This has been a brilliant Australian Grand Prix.
It's Valtteri Bottas who wins the Australian Grand Prix.
Hamilton across the line in second. And Max Verstappen, for the first time ever, will stand on the podium at Albert Park. Ferrari finished fourth and fifth, chased by Kevin Magnussen, best of the rest, in sixth place, putting Haas top of the midfield.
Checkered flag, Kevin. Checkered flag. P6. Perfect race, man. Perfect start to the season. Woo-hoo! Oh, great job, guys. Great job, man.
And it finished.
Happy podium. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm not a dreamer. I want to achieve. I think everybody had a lot of question marks about the partnership we were starting with Honda, but I believe that in the future we can win world championships again like in the past.
least one.
50% better than last year.
Getting there. One more year, we are there again.
It's such a mix of feelings, but in the end you go away, you make sure that everybody's motivated for the next race and you keep on going.
It's one of 21 and they're all part of one championship. Car is performing well, I feel good, so I'm ready to tackle the 20 others.
They actually showed your start. Oh. They showed your start on the screen. It's frustrating. Your launch was awesome.
It's a bit of a kick in the guts because that's just not the way I wanted to start. It does get you down, but the positive and the flip side is that, you know, there's still so many races left, so it's not like it's the last race of the season and you've got no more chance at retaliation.
We're not going to vote on this. If somebody opposes to that one, I sack them.
I wasn't even watching anymore. I couldn't give a fuck.
It's going to be a gearbox change.
Do you think we can do it or not?
2 minutes to go.
What happened? Into each other. Fucking idiot.
I get enough of both of you. You let the fucking team down. I don't need you here.
Hello.
Who the fuck are you?
You should have thrown some banana pills at my rivals.
Can you win this weekend?
Yeah.
If they're good enough, they swim, they survive. If they're not good enough...
Verstappen goes off the track!
I'm working more than anyone else in Formula 1. We're going to remove that subject and put you in place.
Oh! Let's crush them.
May the best man win.
The Trotter Chronicles From Gold to Grit, a novelization by Gemini. Prologue, The Man in the Sharp Suit. The air in the office was thick with the scent of expensive mahogany and the faint, clinical aroma of high-end air purifiers. Justin, a man whose skin looked like it had been buffed by a professional at a Swiss spa, leaned back in his leather chair. He adjusted his glasses, looking at the two men sitting across from him. One of them, Derek Delboy Trotter, was a man who looked like he belonged in a very different kind of office one, with a calendar of a local garage on the wall and the lingering smell of cigar smoke and hopeful desperation. Del was dressed in what he considered his business best, a suit that shimmered just a bit too much under the fluorescent lights, and enough gold jewelry to make a pirate blush. Next to him sat Rodney, younger, leaner, and perpetually looking like he had just realized he'd left the oven on at home. Rodney was sweating, not the confident sweat of an athlete, but the cold, clammy moisture of a man who knew his brother was about to say something that would embarrass them both for the next century. I've got all the basic details about your business career, Justin began, his voice smooth and devoid of any Peckham grit. But what I'd like to do is to get an insight into the real you. How you started, how you became so successful, but more importantly, your lives and your raison d'etre. Del Boy's eyes lit up. He didn't know what a raison d'etre was, but it sounded French, and in Del's world, French meant class. Oh, no, Del whispered to Rodney, Laboratory Garney. Rodney closed his eyes and prayed for the floor to open. It's not Laboratory Garney. Del, he hissed. He's asking for our reason for being. Exactly what I said. Prove. Del snapped back, before turning to Justin with a smile that could sell ice to an Eskimo and then charge him for the delivery. Well, Justin, where shall I start? Up to a few years ago, we were just very ordinary people living. Well, very ordinary lives, weren't we, Rodney? And so, the story began. A story of a watch found in a garage, a fortune made in an instant, and a fall so spectacular it made the Hindenburg look like a minor fender bender. Chapter 1, The Caribbean Dream. The sun over Barbados didn't just shine, it announced itself. It turned the turquoise water into a sheet of diamonds and the white sand into something so bright it hurt to look at without designer sunglasses, which, of course, the trotters were wearing. Only a few months prior, the trotters had been living in a council flat in Peckham, wondering if the hooky VCers they were selling would last through the first reel of Rambo. Then came the watch, an 18th century Harrison marine chronometer hidden in their garage for decades. It had sold at Sotheby's for £6.5 million. In an instant, Derek Trotter, the man who once sold one-legged turkeys at Christmas, was a multimillionaire. Look at this, Rodney, Del had said, leaning over the balcony of their private villa. He was holding a glass of something blue with a miniature umbrella in it. Total luxury. This is what we were born for. Mange tout, Rodney, mange tout. Rodney was sitting in a hammock, trying to read a book on sociology, but failing because Cassandra kept applying sun cream to his back. It's a bit much, isn't it, Del? I mean, 6 months ago we were sharing a bathroom with a leak that Uncle Albert called characterful. Characterful. It was a health hazard. Del laughed. But look at us now. We've divvied the dosh up. We made sure Uncle Albert got a nice little drink, figuratively speaking, though knowing him. He's probably literally drinking most of it down on the coast with Elsie Partridge. They had been the kings of the island. They donated to charity mostly because Del liked the gala dinners, and they invested. Oh, how they invested. Del had met a man in a bar. A visionary, Del called him. A con artist, Rodney had countered. The man spoke of Central American markets, of vibrant ventures, and emerging economies. He spoke of turning millions into billions. It was a royal mint. Rodney, Del shouted into the tropical wind. We were making money while we slept. But the Caribbean sun has a way of blinding you to the clouds on the horizon. Chapter 2. The Sound of the Crash. The end didn't come with a bang. It came with a phone call and a decline message on a credit card at a 5-star hotel. What do you mean? Insufficient funds. Dell had barked at the hotel manager, his gold rings clacking against the marble countertop. Do you know who I am? I'm Derek Trotter. I've got more money than the Sultan of Brunei's paperboy. The manager was polite but firm. The Central American market hadn't just dipped, it had evaporated. A coup, a currency collapse, and a series of creative accounting errors by their visionary friend had turned the Trotter fortune into a pile of worthless digital ash. Rodney, Dell whispered, his face turning a shade of gray that matched the London fog they had tried so hard to escape. The negotiations. They've collapsed. Collapsed? Rodney felt his stomach drop. Dell, we put everything into that venture. The houses, the stocks, the peacocks. I know, Dell said, his bravado finally cracking. We've even paid for this hotel on a credit card. A credit card which has now been withdrawn. The journey back to the UK was a blur of cramped airplane seats and the crushing realization that the dream was over. They weren't returning to a hero's welcome. They were returning to a financial wilderness. And it wasn't just them. Back in Peckham, the ripples of their failure were turning into waves. Michael Fisher, the landlord of the Nag's Head and a man who had trusted Dell with his life savings, was now behind bars. He had remortgaged the pub to follow the Trotter gold mine, and when it collapsed, he had tried to recoup the losses by embezzling from the brewery. He was a desperate man, and Dell felt the weight of every brick in Mike's prison cell. Chapter 3. The Court of Peckham. The corridors of the courthouse felt like a tomb. Denzel, a man whose nerves were usually held together by habit and hope, was pacing so fast he was nearly burning a hole in the linoleum. Denzel, sit down, Albert's voice echoed. Denzel stopped and looked at the group gathered. There was Trigger, looking as vacant as a Sunday morning in a library. There was Boyke, looking smug despite the circumstances. And there was Sid, the cafe owner, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I can't, Albert, Denzel groaned. I've never been a character witness before. I'm worried. I think Dole's made a terrible mistake. Having us for here, it's like inviting the Manson family to dinner. Don't be so dramatic, Trigger said, staring at a fly on the wall. I'm going to tell them I hear voices. Trigger, you're not the one on trial, Denzel hissed. I know, Trigger replied simply, but I still hear voices. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was even grimmer. The inland revenue was a beast that didn't care about mange tout or lovely jubbly. They wanted their pound of flesh, and they wanted it in sterling. Dell and Rodney stood before the judge. The properties were gone. The cars were gone. The peacocks had probably been repossessed by a very confused bailiff. Are there any mitigating circumstances? Their lawyer asked. Dell stepped forward, adjusting his tie. Oh, yes, you must remember to tell them that we were slaves to detail, wouldn't you? Rodney, we made certain that we always got our checks off to the Inland Revenue on time. Always, Rodney added, his voice cracking. Fair dues, Dell whispered as the judge looked down at them. They bounced, but they was always on time. The verdict was swift. Bankruptcy. They weren't going to prison, not yet, but they were being stripped of everything. The debt stood at $48,750 for pounds. It was a number that haunted those dreams. It wasn't just money, it was the price of his pride. Chapter 4, The Wrong Gentleman. Amidst the financial ruins, a personal tragedy struck. Uncle Albert, the man who had survived the Battle of the Atlantic only to be nearly killed by those cooking 1,000 times, had passed away. The funeral was a somber affair, or it should have been. The trotters arrived at the cemetery, faces long and hearts heavy. I feel bad, you know, Dell whispered to Rodney as they walked toward the open grave, leaving him here on his own while we was all off globe-trotting. He wasn't on his own, Dell, Rodney said. He had Elsie. He was happy. They stood by the grave, listening to the vicar speak of a man named Bunny who had served in the RAF. Bunny, Dell frowned. Why did he call him Bunny? Well, that's what they called him in the RAF, didn't they? A stranger next to them whispered, because his surname was Warren. Dell froze. He looked at the headstone. He looked at the grieving widow, who was definitely not Elsie Partridge. He looked at the photo of the deceased man who looked remarkably like Albert, but was missing the signature during the war beard. Rodney, Dell hissed, his eyes wide. Is that a Spitfire on the coffin? Yeah, Rodney whispered back. We're at the wrong funeral. They retreated with the quiet dignity of two men who had just realized they were mourning a complete stranger. It was the perfect metaphor for their lives, showing up with good intentions, only to realize they were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong dead relative. Chapter 5, New Management. Back at Nelson Mandela House, the flat felt smaller than it used to. The wallpaper was peeling, and the ghost of their millionaire lifestyle lingered in the form of a single, half-empty bottle of expensive cognac. The firm's been liquidated, Rodney said, staring at the kitchen table. Trotters Independent Traders is no more. It's Capit. No, 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 Dell said, his mind racing. The firm can go on trading. It's just that I've been disqualified from running it. That doesn't mean to say I can't work for it. He looked at Rodney, really looked at him. We need a new managing director, Dell mused. Someone young, someone enthusiastic, someone full of ideas. Rodney looked around the room. Who? The window cleaner. No, Rodney, you. Rodney's jaw dropped. Me? Dell, I can't run a company. I can't even run a bath without getting a headache. Legally, there is nothing to stop you, Dell insisted. You're clean, no bankruptcy, no disqualification. You'd be the boss. Rodney Trotter, managing director. And so, the power dynamic shifted. Within days, the local paper carried a small advertisement, Trotter's Independent Traders, now under new management. Managing Director, Rodney Trotter. Rodney took to the role with a terrifying level of seriousness. He started wearing a tie at breakfast. He spoke about executive stress and logistical paradigms. He even tried to listen to Mozart to unwind. Mozart's Symphony No. 38 in D major. Rodney explained to Trigger one evening in the flat. I find it helps me ease my executive stress. Trigger nodded slowly. Ain't there no words to this, Dave? No, Trigger, it's instrumental. Dell watched his brother with a mix of pride and annoyance. He was back in the game, even if he was technically just the staff. But the debt to the taxman still loomed. They needed a big score. They needed a miracle. And then the phone rang. Chapter 6, The Gold Rush. The studio lights were blinding. Jonathan Ross, a man who seemed to be made of charisma and expensive hair products, smiled at the camera. Welcome to Gold Rush, he announced, the fastest game show on TV. This is the show where you can win anything from £1 to 100,000 pounds. In the contestant's seat sat Derek Trotter. He had lied about his hobbies, claiming to love 16th century Italian Renaissance art instead of seeing what fell off the back of a lorry. And he had navigated the early rounds with the cunning of a street fox. He reached the final stages. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knockoff Swiss Army knife. For 50,000 pounds, Jonathan Ross said, leaning in, which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Dell felt the sweat prickling under his shimmery suit. He knew this, or he thought he knew it, but his brain was a jumble of French phrases and Peckham market prices. I'm going to have to use me old SOS, aren't I? Dell said, his voice trembling. I'll call my brother, Rodney. Back at the flat, Rodney and Cassandra were dressed in their fantasy therapy outfits, Rodney as a gladiator and Cassandra as a police officer. It was supposed to be a quiet night of memory baggage unloading. The phone screamed. Hello, Rodney snapped, assuming it was their annoying neighbor, Mickey Pierce. Piss off, Mickey. You're getting on my tits now. Rodney, it's Jonathan Ross. The silence that followed was deafening. Rodney realized he had just told one of the most famous men in Britain to piss off. Rodney, we need your help, Jonathan said, hurried. Derek is on 25,000. Going for 50. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Rodney didn't hesitate. He had to GCEs. He had been listening to Mozart for a week. He was an executive. Ravel, Rodney said with absolute certainty. 100%. Del, it's Ravel. Del turned back to the camera, his chest puffed out. I'll go with that. Jonathan, it's Ravel. Jonathan Ross looked at him with a face full of pity. Derek, that was the wrong answer. It was Rodrigo. The world seemed to stop spinning. Del's face went through every shade of red known to man. He had lost it all. Again. On national television. Chapter 7, The Phoenix of Peckham. The silence in the flat that night was heavy. Del sat on the sofa, still wearing his game show suit, staring at the floor. Raquel was in the kitchen, and Rodney was hiding in his room, probably trying to find a way to dismantle his gladiator armor without making a sound. The phone rang. If that's Mickey Pierce, Del growled, picking it up. I'm going to murder him. Hello, is this Derek Trotter? A voice asked. It sounded professional. This is the producer of Gold Rush. Del rolled his eyes. Oh, give it a rest. Mickey, I can hear the jukebox in the Nag's Head from here. No, Mr. Trotter, this is serious. We've made a mistake. Our researchers checked the facts. Ravel did write the music for The Child and The Enchantment. Even though he's a composer and not primarily a guitarist, the question was flawed. Del sat up straight. A mistake? You mean? I was right? You were right. We're offering you the 50,000 pounds. Or the chance to come back and play for the 100,000. Del looked at the room. He looked at Rodney, who had peeked his head out of the bedroom door. He looked at Raquel, who was standing in the doorway with hope in her eyes. Give all the money to charity, Del shouted into the phone, his old bravado returning in a rush of adrenaline. And if you phone here once again, I'm going to come down there and kick your arse into shredded duck. Goodbye. He slammed the phone down. Del, Rodney screamed. What are you doing? That was 50 grand. Del started to laugh. A deep, wheezing Peckham laugh. It was Mickey Pierce, Rodney. I could hear the jukebox. He thought he could wind me up. But nobody winds up Derek Trotter. He stood up, adjusting his cuffs. We're the Trotters, Rodney. We don't need charity. We're back in business. New management, new ideas. This time next year. Rodney sighed, but he couldn't help but smile. We'll be millionaires? No, Del said, throwing an arm around his brother's shoulder. This time next year, we'll be debt free. And that, Rodney, is bonjour. It's bonjour, Del, Rodney corrected. Exactly what I said. Prove exactly what I said. The neon sign of the Nag's Head flickered in the distance, a beacon of hope in the heart of Peckham. The Trotters were down, but they were never out. Because as long as there was a deal to be made and a brother to blame, the dream would never die. Chapter 8. The Cold Light of Day. The following morning did not bring the clarity Del Boy had hoped for. Instead, It brought a pounding headache and the lingering suspicion that he might have made a catastrophic tactical error. He sat at the Formica table in the kitchen, nursing a mug of tea that was mostly sugar. Rodney stumbled in, looking disheveled. "Del," Rodney said, his voice flat, "I've been thinking about that phone call last night." "Forget it, Rodney," Del snapped. Mickey Pierce, professional wind-up merchant, probably recorded the whole thing to play at the pub later. Low D toilet. Rodney. Water under the bridge. "Del, I went to the pub this morning to get some milk because the fridge is on the blink again. And Mickey Pierce was there. He looked as miserable as a rainy Tuesday in Margate. Apparently, his latest business venture selling laser-cut toast just failed. He didn't even have enough credit on his phone to make a prank call." Del froze, his mug halfway to his lips. "What?" "And there's more. Sid showed me the morning paper. There's a small headline on page 12. Game show blunder. BBC apologizes to Peckham contestant over classical music gaffe." The silence in the kitchen was heavy. You could hear the distant rumble of the 171 bus and the slow, rhythmic dripping of the leaky tap. So, Del whispered, his voice barely audible, "It wasn't Nicky. It was the producer. Del, you told the BBC to give £50,000 to charity in the name of the Trotters." Del Boy put his mug down. He stared at the wall, at the framed picture of their mother. "Well," he said, his voice suddenly bright and brittle, At least we'll get a plaque or a mention in the newsletter. It's tax deductible, ain't it?" "We don't pay tax, Del. We're bankrupt," Rodney shouted. "Details, Rodney, details." Del stood up, pacing the small kitchen. "This is just a temporary setback. A minor hiccup in the grand tapestry of Trotter fortunes. We're under new management. Remember, Managing Director Rodney Trotter. What's our first move, boss?" Rodney looked at the pile of unpaid bills on the counter. "Our first move is to find something to sell. Something that doesn't involve the Sultan of Brunei or the BBC. Chapter 9, The Electronic Revolution." Rodney's first official act as managing director was to meet with Monkey Harris. Monkey was a man who lived up to his name short, agile, and always looking for a way to climb a bit higher on the social ladder. He met Rodney in the back of a van parked behind the Nag's Head. "I've got a consignment. Rodney," Monkey whispered, opening a cardboard box. "Electronic personal organizers. Top of the range. They tell the time, store 500 names, and have a built-in calculator. They're selling like crazy in the West End." Rodney picked one up. It was a sleek, black plastic device that looked like something from a low-budget sci-fi movie. "How much?" "For you. A tenner apiece. I've got 200 of them." Rodney calculated. 200 at £10 was 2,000. If they sold them for 30, That was for £1,000 profit. It wasn't 50,000, but it was a start. I'll take them, Rodney said, trying to sound executive. But I'll need to pay in installments. Cash flow. You understand? Monkey nodded. I understand. Cash flow is the soul of business. I'll drop them off at Nelson Mandela House tonight. When Rodney returned to the flat, he found Del Boy trying to fix the washing machine with a bent coat hanger. Good news, Del. I've secured our first inventory. Electronic personal organizers. The future of business. We're going to modernize Peckham. One address book at a time. Del looked at the device. Electronic organizers. People round here can barely organize a trip to the toilet. Rodney, who's going to buy these? Everyone. Busy professionals, students, anyone who needs to stay on top of their game. It's executive stress management. Del, der chic. HMM, Del said, his eyes narrowing. They look a bit plastic. Are they waterproof? Why would they need to be waterproof? In case it rains on the market stall. Rodney, think of Voyager Pois. Chapter 10. Iconoclastic autosuggestion. While the business world was being revolutionized by plastic organizers, the domestic world of the Trotters was entering the realm of fantasy therapy. Cassandra had insisted. After the stress of the bankruptcy and the game show disaster, she felt their relationship needed a reboot. She had found a book by an American psychologist who spoke of memory baggage and the need to create our own make-believe world. Iconoclastic autosuggestion. Rodney explained to Del Boy while they were sorting the organizers. It's about rejecting reality and becoming different people, just for an evening. Sounds like what I've been doing for 40 years. Rodney, Del quipped. What's the catch? We write down our fantasy figures, and then we become them. No dressing up. It's all in the mind. But as with everything in the Trotter household, the no dressing up rule was the first to go. Thursday night arrived. Del had agreed to take Raquel and Damien out to see a film, giving Rodney and Cassandra the flat to themselves. Or so Rodney thought. I'm taking them to see that new cartoon, Del said, adjusting his coat. The one about the singing fish. We'll be back late. Enjoy your autosuggestion. Rodney waited until the door closed. He went to his bedroom and emerged 10 minutes later wearing a leather skirt, a plastic chest plate, and sandals. He looked like he had been rejected from a high school production of Spartacus. Cassandra emerged from the bathroom. She was wearing a police uniform, complete with a hat and a plastic truncheon. Rodney, she gasped. I thought we said no dressing up. I couldn't help it. Cass, the book said to fully immerse yourself. I'm Russell Crowe in Gladiator. And I'm a detective from the Bill. Cassandra sighed. You look different. Strength and honor, Cassandra, Rodney said, striking a pose that nearly caused his chest plate to pop off. Now, let us unload our baggage. They sat on the sofa, trying to be reborn, but the atmosphere was somewhat dampened by the smell of those lingering cigar smoke and the faint sound of the neighbor's heavy metal music. So, Rodney began, trying to deepen his voice. On my signal, unleash the feelings. Rodney, I don't feel like a detective. I feel like an idiot. That's just the memory baggage talking. Reject it. You are an officer of the law. I am a hero of Rome. Suddenly, the front door burst open. We're back, Del Boy shouted, stumbling in with Raquel and Damien. The cinema was full. Apparently, every kid in Peckham wants to see a singing fish. He stopped dead. He looked at Rodney. He looked at Cassandra. Oh, my God, Del whispered, his eyes widening. Rodney, what have you done to her? Is she arresting you? It's therapy, Del, Rodney hissed, trying to hide behind a cushion. Go away. Therapy? You look like you're about to fight a lion in a police station. Del started to laugh. A deep, wheezing sound. Raquel, come and see this. Russell Crowe and the Bill are having a meeting in our front room. The fantasy was officially over. Reality hadn't just returned, it had kicked the door down and started laughing at them. Chapter 11, The Sultan's Shadow. A few days later, the executive stress was reaching a fever pitch. Marketers in Peckham were apparently resistant to digital organization. Rodney was sitting at the kitchen table, Mozart playing softly in the background, when the phone rang. Trotter's Independent Traders, Managing Director Rodney Trotter speaking, he said, trying to sound bored and important. Good evening, a voice said with a thick, exotic accent. I am wishing to speak with Managing Director. Rodney's eyes narrowed. This is he. Who is calling? My name is Asif Hazen. I am representative of Sultan of Brunei. Rodney rolled his eyes. He looked at Del Boy, who was pretending to read the paper but was clearly listening. The Sultan of Brunei, Rodney repeated loudly. Well, how can I be of assistance, sir? His Highness has seen your advertisement in the newspaper. He is very impressed with your party planning and consultancy. Is he now? Rodney smirked. And what does His Highness want? Does he want me to fly out and organize a palace warming? Exactly. He wants you to fly to Brunei. All expenses paid. He has bought a crappy old three-wheeled van and he wants to know where to start it on cold mornings. Rodney's smirk vanished. He slammed the phone down. Shove it, Mickey, he yelled at the dead line. Just shove it. What happened? Del asked, looking up. Dave's just had a big row with the Sultan of Brunei. It was Mickey Pierce. Del, I could hear the jukebox. He thinks he's so clever, using an accent. But as Rodney sat back down, his Mozart symphony reached a crescendo. He looked at the advertisement he had placed. He had listed consultancy and party planning. It was a professional advert. He looked at the phone. For a fleeting second, he wondered, what if the Sultan of Brunei really did have an old van? What if he really did need a consultant from Peckham? Del, Rodney whispered, do you think? Don't worry, Rodney, Del said, patting him on the shoulder. The world's full of surprises. Look at Nicky Pierce, he's only just learned to read. They sat in the quiet flat to brothers bound by blood, bankruptcy, and a never-ending cycle of nearly and almost. They were back where they started, in Nelson Mandela House, with a mountain of debt and a box of plastic organizers. But as the neon sign of the Nags had flickered outside, Del Boy looked at his brother. This time next year, Rodney, he said, the old spark returning to his eyes. This time next year, we'll have sold all them organizers. We'll be back on top. Mange tout, Rodney, mange tout. And in the heart of Peckham, that was enough. Chapter 12, The Ghost of Mickey Pierce. The weight of the charity call hung over the flat like a thick London fog that refused to lift. Del Boy tried to carry himself with his usual swagger, but every time he passed a television, he felt a phantom pain in his wallet. 50,000 pounds gone with a single, ego-driven outburst. I could have bought a new van. Rodney, Del whispered, staring into his lukewarm tea. A yellow one, with leather seats, and a heater that actually works. You gave it away, Del, Rodney said, not looking up from his latest business management book. You wanted to look like a big man. Well, congratulations. You're the biggest man in the soup kitchen. Rodney was trying to embrace his role as managing director, but the reality of the market stall was far from the corporate boardrooms he envisioned. The electronic organizers were currently sitting in the hallway, taking up space and gathering dust. We need a marketing strategy, Del, Rodney announced, standing up. We can't just stand on a street corner and shout. We need to target the high-end demographic of Peckham. Del snorted. The high-end demographic of Peckham is anyone who's still got all their own teeth. Rodney, just get M down to the market. I'll do the patter. No, I'm the MD. I'll do the patter. You can be the logistics coordinator. The what? Rodney, I've been selling since you were in nappies. I could sell a no-entry sign to a getaway driver. But Rodney was insistent. He wanted to prove he was more than just a bone marrow donor in a cheap suit. He spent the evening practicing his executive voice, much to Raquel's amusement and Dul's irritation. The next morning, the market was bustling. Rodney stood behind the stall, looking stiff and uncomfortable in a trench coat he thought looked professional. Del stood to the side, arms folded, waiting for the inevitable. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, Rodney shouted, his voice cracking slightly. Experience the future of personal management. The Trotter 3000 electronic organizer. Stores 500 names. Calculates. Tells the time in Tokyo. A woman in a headscarf stopped and looked at the black plastic device. Does it tell me when the 171 bus is coming? Well, no, Rodney stammered. But it can store the bus timetable if you type it in. I can't type, she said, moving on. And I don't know anyone in Tokyo. Del Boy stepped forward, unable to restrain himself any longer. Oi, darling, come back. Don't listen to him. He's just the apprentice. Look at this, it's not just an organizer. It's a status symbol. It shows the world you're a person of substance. And look at doubles as a very stylish paperweight for your betting slips. He grabbed one and held it high. Normally 30 quid, but today, because my brother here has just been released from a psychiatric institute, and I'm feeling sorry for him, 15 quid, for 25. Within 10 minutes, Del had sold 3. Rodney watched in a mixture of awe and resentment. The executive dream was slipping away, replaced by the familiar grit of the Peckham hustle. Chapter 13, The Road Sweepers Union. As the weeks dragged on, the organizers sold in drips and drabs. But the mountain of debt to the inland revenue remained immovable. The threat of bailiffs was no longer a distant worry. It was a looming shadow that darkened every conversation. Raquel's right, Del, Rodney said one evening, looking defeated. Trigger said they're recruiting down at the depot. Road sweeping. The pay is steady. Del Boy looked like he had been slapped. Road sweeping. Me, Derek Trotter, the man who once had peacocks on his lawn. I'm a trader, Rodney, an entrepreneur. You're a bankrupt entrepreneur. Del, we need money. Real money. Not this time next year money. Del looked around the flat. He saw the peeling wallpaper, the half-empty bottles, and the tired look in Raquel's eyes. The bravado he had worn like armor for decades was finally starting to rust. I'll help you fill in the form, Rodney offered, his voice softening. Me? Del shouted. I wasn't talking about me. You're the one who needs a job. You're young. You're fit. You can push a broom from here to Lewisham. I'm the managing director. Rodney protested. Exactly. And part of managing a company is diversifying your income streams. Now, go on, get the pen, and see if they've got any vacancies for a logistics consultant with his own high-vis vest. The tension in the flat was broken by a knock at the door. It was Trigger. All right, Dave, Trigger said, nodding to Rodney. It's Rodney, Trigger. Yeah, whatever. Del, I heard you were looking for a bit of work. My supervisor says he's got a spot on the night shift. It's mostly quiet. Just you and the broom. Gives you plenty of time to hear the voices. Del Boy closed his eyes. The image of himself in an orange vest, sweeping up kebab wrappers at 3 a.m., was the final indignity. Thanks, Trig. Dell said, his voice surprisingly quiet. I'll think about it. After Trigger left, Dell sat by the window, looking out at the estate. He thought about the watch, the millions, the Barbados sun. It all felt like a dream someone else had dreamt. Rodney, Dell said, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. Did I really tell them to give that 50 grand to charity? You did. Dell, you were brilliant. The whole country thinks you're a saint. Dell smiled, a small, sad flick of the lips. A saint with no shoes, eh? Well, at least I'm a saint. Say Lavi, Rodney. Say Lavi. Chapter 14, the final word. The interview with Justin was drawing to a close. The high-end office felt even more alien now that the story had been told. The mahogany desk seemed colder, the air purifiers more sterile. Justin adjusted his glasses, scribbling a final note in his leather-bound notebook. It's a fascinating journey, Mr. Trotter, from the heights of sudden wealth to the current situation. But tell me, do you regret it? The watch, the investment, the charity call. Del Boy leaned forward. The gold on his fingers caught the light. He looked at Rodney, then back at Justin. Regret it, Del said, his voice regaining its familiar resonance. Justin, my son, life is like a market stall. Sometimes you're selling silk, and sometimes you're selling scrap. But the point is, you're always in the game. Rodney shifted in his seat, looking at his brother with a mix of exasperation and pride. We had the world in our hands for a minute, Del continued. And yeah, we dropped it, but we're trotters. We're like those little rubber balls you get in the 50p machines. The harder you hit us against the pavement, the higher we bounce. He stood up, smoothing his shimmering suit. I've got a warehouse full of electronic organizers that are going to revolutionize the world of personal management. I've got a managing director who's got more ideas than a patent office. And I've got a family that, well, they're the only thing that's actually worth $6.5 million. Justin stood up, offering his hand. Thank you, Derek. It's been an insight. I'll be in touch. As they walked out of the office and into the cool London air, Rodney turned to Del. So, what now, MD? Del Boy looked at the yellow Capri parked at the curb. It was old, it was battered, but it was theirs. Now, Rodney, Del said, his eyes sparkling with a new scheme. Now we go to the Nag's Head. I think I know a bloke who's looking for 200 slightly water-damaged electronic organizers. He's a Lap's laptop salesman. And I think he's a fan of Ravel. Rodney sighed, shaking his head. You never learn, do you? Learn? Rodney, my boy, if I learned, I'd be bored. Mange tout, Rodney, mange tout. And as they drove off into the Peckham sunset, the neon sign of the Nag's Head flickered to life, welcoming them back to the only world they truly understood. Chapter 15, the Nag's Head debrief. The Nag's Head was exactly as they had left it, dimly lit, smelling of stale lager and failed dreams, and populated by the usual suspects. Sid was behind the bar, looking as if he'd personally invented misery, while Trigger sat in his usual corner, nursing a half pint of something that looked like swamp water. Del Boy burst through the doors, his shimmering suit reflecting the flickering neon lights. Behind him, Rodney followed, looking like a man who had just survived a high-stakes interrogation which, in a way, he had. "A round for my friends, Sid," Del shouted, slapping a 5-pound note onto the counter. "And make 'em large ones. We've just been to the top of the mountain and come back with the view." Sid didn't look up from his glass polishing. "The mountain? Last I heard, you were at the bottom of a bankruptcy hole. Del, that 5-pound note wouldn't even buy you a ticket out of Peckham." "Details, Sid, details." Del laughed, grabbing to brandies. He walked over to Trigger. "All right. Trig, you missed it. We just had a meeting with a high-flying biographer. He wanted the inside scoop on the Trotter Empire." Trigger nodded slowly, his eyes vacant. "Did he ask about the voices?" Del: "No, Trig, he didn't. But he was very impressed with our race on Deader." "Your what?" "Our reason for being," Trig, Rodney intervened, sitting down. "Not that Del actually knows what it means." "I know exactly what it means, Rodney," Del snapped. "It means we're still here, ain't we? Against all the odds. The taxman, the game shows, the Sultan of Brunei, they've all tried to knock us down. But we're like a pair of bad pennies." Boyke walked into the pub then, looking as smug as a man who had just sold a rusty tractor for the price of a Ferrari. Ah, the Trotter brothers, back from the financial wilderness. "I see. I hear you've been disqualified from running companies. Derek, a bit of a choker, that." "Not disqualified, Boyke," Del said, leaning back. "Under new management, meet the managing director of Trotter's Independent Traders, Rodney Trotter, esque." Boyke let out a dry, rattling laugh. "Rodney, running a company, I've seen more business acumen in a damp sponge. What's the first item on the agenda, Rodney? A national shortage of lanky idiots?" Rodney went red. "Actually, Boyke, we've just secured a major consignment of high-end electronic personal organizers. We're modernizing the Peckham retail sector." "Electronic organizers," Boyke sneered. "My dog has better organization than anyone in this pub. Who's going to buy them?" "People with ambition, Boyke," Del said, his eyes narrowing. "People like you. Tell you what, since we're old mates, I'll let you have a dozen for a special insider price. Think of the prestige. I'll think of the bankruptcy court." "Derek," Boyke said, turning away, "enjoy your empire." Chapter 16, The Executive Lunch. Monday morning arrived with the relentless grayness of a Peckham winter. Rodney, now fully committed to his role as managing director, decided it was time to establish a new corporate culture. This involved an executive lunch with Cassandra at the local Italian restaurant His. Expense account was currently a handful of loose change and a half-punched loyalty card for the kebab shop. It's about prestige, Cassandra, Rodney explained as they sat at a table with a checked cloth that hadn't been washed since the 70s. A managing director needs to be seen in the right places. It builds confidence. Cassandra looked at her menu, then at Rodney's trench coat. Rodney, we're in a cafe that calls spaghetti Italian noodles, and you're bankrupt. Maybe confidence isn't what we should be building right now. Maybe we should be building a savings account. We will, once the organizers start moving. Dell says he's found a niche market. The niche market being people who don't realize they're being ripped off. Rodney sighed. You have no faith. Cass, this is the new Trotter era. No more hooky gear. No more midnight runs. We're going legit. Suddenly, the door burst open and Del Boy walked in, looking frantic. He was carrying a cardboard box that was leaking a mysterious, dark fluid. Rodney, thank God I found you. Del panted, sliding into the booth next to them. The organizers, we've got a problem. What problem? Rodney's executive comm shattered. The warehouse. Well, when I say warehouse, I mean the shed behind the Nag's Head. It had a bit of a leak, and the waterproof boxes. Well, they weren't. Rodney looked at the box. The dark fluid was soaking into the tablecloth. Del, are they ruined? Not ruined, just seasoned. I've spoken to a bloke who says if we leave him in a warm oven for 20 minutes, they'll be as good as new. But we need a warm oven, and ours is currently being used by Raquel to dry the laundry. Cassandra put her head in her hands. The new legit era. It lasted exactly 45 minutes. It's a minor setback, Del insisted, grabbing a breadstick. I've already started the remarketing. The Trotter 3000. Now with added humidity sensors. It's a feature, Rodney. People pay extra for features. Chapter 17, The Skip of Destiny. While Rodney was dealing with the damp organizers, Del Boy was on the hunt for a new opportunity. This usually involved driving the yellow Capri around the back streets of Peckham, looking for skips that looked promising. You never know what people throw away. Raquel, Del said as he poked her out a large metal container outside a derelict office building. One man's rubbish is another man's. Well, another man's profit margin. He pulled out a tangled mess of copper wire and a dusty, ornate frame that looked like it belonged in a haunted house. Look at this. It's a genuine Victorian. Something, probably priceless. Del, it's a broken picture frame with dry rot. Raquel said, staying in the van. And it's covered in pigeon droppings. Character, Raquel. It's called patina. People in the West End pay thousands for patina. I'll get Rodney to research it. He's the MD now. He needs to earn his keep. Back at the flat, Rodney was staring at the copper wire. Del, this isn't an opportunity. This is theft from a demolition site. It's recycling. Rodney, we're being green. We're saving the planet while we save the family firm. Now, look at this frame. What does it say to you? Rodney looked at the crumbling wood. It says tetanus, Del. No, it says heritage. I want you to go down to the library and find out if any famous painters lived in this area. If we can link this frame to, say, Constable or Turner, well, bonjour, Rodney. We're back in the millions. Del, Constable painted Haywains in Suffolk, not tower blocks in Peckham. Maybe he had a holiday home here. Just look it up. And while you're at it, see if you can find out how much scrap copper is going for. I've got a feeling our luck is about to change. Chapter 18, Trigger's Wisdom. Late that night, Del found himself back at the Nag's Head. Rodney had gone home to argue with Cassandra about the ethics of scrap metal, and Raquel was busy with Damien. Del needed a sympathetic ear, and as usual, Trigger was the only one available. Trig, Del said, staring into his brandy, do you think I'm a failure? I mean, look at me, bankrupt, sweeping roads mentally, if not literally yet, managing director of a company that's currently storing damp address books in a kitchen oven. Trigger blinked slowly. I don't think you're a failure. Del, you've got a nice suit. It's polyester, Trig. It sparkles because of the static. I like the sparkles, Trigger said. But you know what I think? I think life is like a broom. You can have the same broom for 20 years. You just have to change the head and the handle every now and then. Del looked at him. Trig, that's the same broom. You've just replaced all the parts. Exactly, Trigger said, looking satisfied. And that's you. Del, you've replaced your houses, your cars, your money, but you're still the same broom. You just keep sweeping. Del let out a long, shaky breath. You know, Trig, for a man who hears voices. You make a lot of sense sometimes. I am the broom, and Peckham is my warehouse. Do you want to know what the voices said today, Del? Not really, Trig. They said ravel, just the one word, over and over again. Del stiffened. Ravel. Why ravel? I don't know, Trigger said, finishing his drink. Maybe they like his shoes. Del sat in the silence of the pub, the word ravel echoing in his mind. Was it a sign, a curse, or just the ghost of a 50,000-pound mistake that would haunt him for the rest of his life? Chapter 19, The Organizer Meltdown. The oven drying experiment was, perhaps unsurprisingly, a catastrophe. Rodney had left the Trotter 3000s in the oven for exactly 20 minutes, as Del had instructed. What Del hadn't mentioned was that the oven shouldn't be set to max. When Rodney opened the oven door, a cloud of acrid, black smoke billowed out, filling the flat. "My organizers," Rodney screamed, waving a tea towel. "They're melting. Del, they're literally melting together." Del Boy ran into the kitchen, coughing. "Oh, bloody hell. It's a modern art installation. Quick, Rodney, get a photo. We can sell it as a commentary on the digital age. It's not art, Del. It's 2,000 pounds of debt turning into a plastic pancake." The smell was unbearable. Raquel came in, holding her nose. "What in God's name is going on? The neighbors are calling the fire brigade." "It's a technical glitch, Raquel," Del shouted. "A minor manufacturing defect, Rodney. Stop crying and get the spatulas. We might be able to save a few of the calculators." They spent the next 3 hours scraping melted plastic off the oven racks, out of the 200 organizers. Only 3 survived, Dan. Even those only worked if you held them at a 45-degree angle and shouted at them in Japanese. "Well," Del said, looking at the small pile of charred plastic, "at least we've still got the scrap copper." "The scrap copper that you found in a skip," Rodney whispered, his voice broken. "The copper that's currently sitting in the hallway smelling like dead pigeons?" "It's a start, Rodney. An entrepreneur always starts small. We'll go down the yard tomorrow. We'll get a few quid. We'll buy a lottery ticket. And before you know it—" "Don't say it, Del," Rodney groaned. "Just don't say it." Chapter 20, The Midnight Sweep. The final indignity arrived at 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Del Boy, dressed in a high-visibility vest that was several sizes too large, stood on a deserted street corner in Peckham. In his hand was a heavy, industrial broom. Trigger was next to him, looking perfectly at home. "It's a good shift, this one. Del, not many people around to bother you. Just the wind and the wrappers." Del looked down at his broom. He thought about the silk shirts, the gold-leafed villas, and the sound of the Sotheby's gavel. He thought about the millions he had held in his hand, and the way it had slipped through his fingers like sand. "Trig," Del said, his voice barely a whisper, "how did I end up here?" "You walked, Del, from the flat. It's only 10 minutes. Del smiled. He started to sweep. The rhythmic sound of the bristles against the pavement was strangely soothing. He swept up a discarded lottery ticket, a crushed beer can, and a crumpled newspaper. "You know what, Trig," Del said, his spirits beginning to rise. "This isn't so bad. It's honest work, and it gives me time to think, to plan, to strategize." "Strategize what, Del?" "The next big one, Trig. I've been thinking about those singing fish. If we can find a supplier who makes 'em with a built-in organizer. Well, mange tout, Trig, mange tout." Trigger nodded. "I like fish." And there, in the quiet streets of Peckham, Under the flickering orange glow of the streetlights, Derek Trotter began his comeback. He wasn't a millionaire anymore. He was a bankrupt road sweeper with a melted plastic dream and a skip full of copper wire. But as the first light of dawn began to touch the top of Nelson Mandela House, Del Boy looked at the horizon and winked. Because the Trotters were back. And this time, they meant business. Chapter 21, The Efficiency of the Broom. Morning brought a new kind of fatigue, the kind that settles into your marrow and stays there. Del Boy sat at the Formica table, his orange high-vis vest draped over the back of the chair like a discarded superhero cape. Rodney was already up, surrounded by sheets of graph paper and a calculator that was missing its zero button. "I've worked it out, Del," Rodney announced, tapping a pencil against his teeth. "Route optimization. If you sweep the main estate in a concentric spiral starting from the central play area, you can cut 3 miles off your shift and improve debris collection by 14%. Del looked at him with bloodshot eyes. "Rodney, I'm a road sweeper, not a Mars rover. The debris collection is already optimized by the wind. It all ends up in front of the Nag's Head anyway. That's the problem. You're reactive. Del, you need to be proactive. Managing director's orders. We're going to run this cleaning operation like a Swiss watch." Del snorted, reaching for a piece of cold toast. "Swiss watch? More like a sundial in a coal cellar. My back is killing me. Rodney." And Trigger keeps talking to the pigeons. He thinks they're working for the council. Well, maybe they are. Information is power. Del. The tension was broken by the sound of a heavy box being dropped in the hallway. It was Monkey Harris, looking suspicious as usual. "I've got M. Rodney," Monkey shouted from the hall. "The aquatic prototypes, straight from the factory in Shenzhen. Or maybe a shed in Croydon. The labels were a bit blurry." Del pushed himself up. Interest finally peaked. The singing fish. Singing fish. Monkey pulled a sample from the box. It was a rubbery, green bass mounted on a plaque. It looked like it had been through a car wash on the wrong setting. "These are the limited editions. Del, they don't just sing, they tell jokes." Del pressed a button on the base. The fish flicked its tail, opened its mouth, and in a high-pitched, metallic voice, squeaked. Why did the salmon cross the road? To get to the other, Air 400 for. Rodney looked horrified. "It's broken." "It's not broken. Rodney," Del shouted, his eyes sparkling with a new scheme. "It's a cliffhanger. It's an interactive comedy experience. People love a mystery. We'll sell N as philosophical fish. They make you think." Chapter 22, The Aquatic Opportunity. By the end of the week, the Trotter Flat was a sanctuary for 200 rubbery fish that occasionally burst into snippets of "Don't worry, be happy" in the middle of the night. Rodney had developed a marketing plan involving premium executive office decor. while Dell had a more direct approach, the back of the Capri. Prestige is all well and good, Rodney, Dell said as they loaded the boxes into the van. But the people of Peckham don't want prestige. They want something to annoy their neighbors with. And these fish are the nuclear option. Dell, we're supposed to be going legit. We can't sell faulty fish from a van. It's a violation of the Trotter Independent Traders' new corporate charter. The charter is under review, Rodney. Now, get in. I've heard there's a gala evening at the Peckham Community Center. Lots of people with too much punch and not enough sense. The gala was a sea of cheap decorations and lukewarm cider. Del Boy worked the room like a politician at a fundraiser. He stood near the raffle table, a philosophical fish tucked under each arm. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen. Doe's voice boomed over the strains of a local accordion player. Tired of the same old boring wall hangings? Want a pet that doesn't need feeding and has a better sense of humor than your brother-in-law? Meet the singing sensei. He's wise, he's watery, and he's yours for a tenner. A small crowd gathered. Del pressed a button. The fish tail thumped and croaked. Life is like a ZZZZZT. Bowl of crackle. See? Del whispered to a confused-looking man. He's a Zen master. He wants you to fill in the blanks yourself. It's the ultimate conversation starter. Does he sing anything else? A woman asked. Anything else? He sings the songs of the deep. Rodney pressed the override. Rodney, looking like he wanted to vanish, pressed the sync button on a remote. Suddenly, all 20 fish in the boxes behind the stall burst into a discordant, overlapping version of tie a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree. It was a wall of sound, part carnival, part nightmare. The room went silent. Then, slowly, a child started to laugh, then a parent, then the accordion player. Within an hour, they were sold out. Chapter 23, The Gala of Desperation. They sat in the Nag's Head afterwards, the weight of the day's earnings a heavy, pleasant bulge in those pocket. They had enough to pay a significant chunk of the month's debt interest and buy Raquel a dress that didn't come from a charity shop. You see, Rodney, Del said, nursing a large brandy, it's all about the pitch. We might be sweeping the roads by night, but by day, we're still the kings of Peckham. Rodney looked at his hands, which were still slightly sticky from the fish's rubber coating. I suppose you're right. It wasn't exactly high-level consultancy, but we made a profit, a genuine, non-taxable, cash-in-hand profit. Exactly. And I've been thinking, if we can get a consignment of those singing hamsters' necks, you know, the ones that repeat what you say, we can market 'em as secretaries for the self-employed. Rodney sighed, but he couldn't hide the smile. You never stop, do you? Why should I? Life is a market, Rodney, and we've got the best pitch in the world. Across the pub, Trigger raised his glass. I heard a voice today. Del, what did it say this time? Trig, salmon. No, Trigger said, staring into the middle distance. It said success, but it sounded like it was underwater. Del Boy laughed, clinking his glass against Rodney's. Underwater? Well, that sounds like us, don't it? We might be submerged, Rodney, but we're still breathing. Chapter 24, The Long Road Ahead. The final chapter of the interview with Justin was not a conclusion, but a new beginning. As the men walked out into the cool evening air of central London, the memory of their millionaire status felt less like a lost paradise and more like a high-speed chase that had ended in a spectacular, non-fatal crash. Del Boy looked at the yellow Capri, which was currently sporting a new, hand-painted MD sticker on the bumper Rodney's latest executive touch. You know, Rodney, Del said, leaning against the door, we've got the flat, we've got the family, we've got a warehouse full of, well, whatever Monkey Harris brings us next. We might be bankrupt on paper, but in every other way, we're the richest men in London. You're getting sentimental, Del, Rodney said, opening the driver's side door. It's the executive stress getting to you. Maybe. Or maybe it's just the realization that the bestest things in life don't need a Sotheby's appraisal. Now, come on, get us home. I've got a shift starting in 3 hours, and Trigger says the wind is blowing towards the Nag's Head. We've got a concentric spiral to execute. Rodney started the engine. It sputtered, coughed, and then roared into a defiant, smoky life. Concentric spiral, A. I'll hold you to that. Del, managing director's orders. Mange tout, Rodney, Del whispered, looking out at the city lights. Mange tout. And as they drove off into the night, the neon sign of the Nag's Head flickered in the distance a small, steady light in the heart of Peckham, waiting for the return of the men who never knew when to stay down. Chapter 25, The Bailiff's Shadow. The morning sun, usually a welcome sight, brought only a sense of impending doom to Nelson Mandela House. Del Boy sat at the kitchen table, nursing